The Earth of 4.7 million years ago looked familiar and alien at the same time. The continents were roughly where they are now, but the climate was warmer and wetter in many regions. Africa's grasslands stretched wide under golden light, dotted with acacia trees. Rivers carved winding paths through the plains, and forests still clung to the highlands. Herds of antelope-like animals grazed, while predators stalked from the shadows: saber-toothed cats, giant hyenas, and packs of early hunting dogs. This was the Pliocene epoch, a bridge between ancient and modern worlds. The great ice sheets of the ice ages hadn't yet advanced, but the climate was changing and grasslands were expanding at the expense of dense forest. Among the countless creatures moving across these lands was a small group of Australopithecus afarensis, distant ancestors of modern humans, ape-like in some ways, human-like in others. They were bipedal most of the time but still climbed trees for safety. Their brains were only a third the size of ours, yet inside those brains stirred the beginnings of ingenuity and cooperation. The clan numbered 12, males, females, and young ones. They lived near a wide bend in a shallow river in what is now Ethiopia. To them it was simply home, a place where tall reeds whispered in the wind, where fish darted under the surface, and where flat rocks warmed in the morning sun. At the center of the group was Eru, the oldest female. She had survived many seasons of drought and plenty, her fur marked with scars from leopard claws and falls from trees. In her mind there were patterns. Which trees bore fruit first, when the rains would likely come, where the safest sleeping trees were. She had no words to tell these things, but she led by movement, gesture, and sound. Close by was Turo, a young male in his prime, strong arms, sharp eyes, and a curiosity that sometimes led him into trouble. Turo had been watching the strange way rocks could split when struck, fascinated by the edges that could scrape plant fibers or crack nutshells. There was also Lena, a nursing mother with an infant clinging to her fur, and Peck, a juvenile who was just beginning to walk long distances without tiring. The others filled the ranks, adolescent males testing their strength, females foraging with infants, and a few elders whose pace was slower but whose experience saved lives. Survival began every morning with the same urgency: find food before predators found you. The clan moved out in loose formation, the adults scanning constantly. High grass meant danger and open ground meant speed. They were omnivorous opportunists, eating whatever they could find: berries, roots, leaves, nuts, insects, eggs, small lizards, and sometimes carrion left by larger predators. Eru led them toward a stand of fruiting fig trees. The figs were high, but Turo and another male scrambled up easily, their long arms pulling them into the canopy. The figs were sweet and filling, but they also attracted hornbills and monkeys. The air was filled with chirps, screeches, and the rustle of leaves. Mid-morning, Lena spotted movement in the grass: a giant tortoise. Slowly, deliberately she approached. The creature hissed and withdrew into its shell. Turo, seeing this, fetched a rounded stone. He didn't know why in the human sense, but through trial and error, he had learned that striking the shell's edge sometimes cracked it. It took several blows, but eventually they exposed the soft flesh inside. Meat was rare and rich in fat. Every member of the clan crowded close to pick small pieces, their teeth tearing and chewing. Food was life, but food also brought risk. From the shadows beyond the fig grove, a Macaridus, a saber-toothed cat, had been watching. Its golden fur blended with the grass, its massive canines glinting faintly in the sunlight. It crouched low, tail twitching. Peck, still inexperienced, strayed too far from the adults while chasing a lizard. The cat shifted, ready to pounce. It was Eru who spotted the danger: a flicker of movement, the change in bird calls. She barked a warning, a harsh, guttural cry that sent the clan scrambling for trees. Turo swooped in, grabbed Peck by the arm, and hauled him up the trunk of a nearby acacia just as the cat lunged. Claws raked the bark below them, the cat roaring in frustration. The clan stayed in the branches until the predator gave up and slunk away. Heartbeats slowed. Breathing returned to normal. But the message was clear: one moment of carelessness could end everything. Over the months, the clan adapted to the rhythm of the land. In the wet season, rain swelled the river, fish became easier to catch, and plants grew lush. They feasted on tubers dug from soft soil, tender shoots, and migrating herds' droppings, which drew insects and grubs. In the dry season, survival was harder. Rivers shrank to muddy pools. Grass turned brittle and yellow. Fruit was scarce, and the clan had to range farther for food, risking encounters with rival groups and predators. They sometimes scavenged from hyena kills, driving the bone crushers away with stones and loud cries. This was dangerous but rewarding. Marrow was a calorie-rich prize. Era remembered where certain baobab trees stored water in their swollen trunks, and she taught the younger ones how to pierce the bark to drink. At 4.7 million years ago, fire was not yet theirs to control. Lightning sometimes set the grasslands ablaze, but they could only watch from a distance, fascinated and afraid. Still they learned from it. Burnt patches of earth often attracted grazers to eat new shoots, and in turn, those grazers drew predators and scavenging opportunities for the clan. Turo once found the charred remains of a bird after a grass fire. The meat tasted different, softer, smoky. He didn't understand the chemical change, but he remembered the flavor. Though they lacked the precision of later humans, early stone tools were beginning to appear in the hands of such creatures. One afternoon, Turo sat by the river, striking one stone against another. Flakes chipped off, leaving a sharp edge. It could scrape the skin from roots or cut thin strips from meat. This was not yet systematic tool-making, more curiosity than industry, but the seed was planted. Era noticed. When she saw Turo's sharp flake in use, she took it and used it herself. Soon, a few others began to experiment. It wasn't yet culture in the modern sense, but something was spreading, an idea. A year passed. Some members of the clan died, a young female taken by a crocodile, an elder who grew too weak to keep up. But new infants were born, clinging tight to their mothers as they traveled. The cycle of survival continued. Forage, watch for predators, drink water, find shelter, protect the young. Their world was raw, dangerous, and beautiful. They lived without knowing the words future or past, but their survival day by day laid the foundation for everything that would come after: tools, fire, language, art.